Thank you. Hi, how are y'all feeling today on the last day? All right, that's a minimal level of energy, but I'll work with that, that's fine. So my name is Serena. I'm a director of product for Elastic, and actually in the front row here, I'm joined by the director of engineering. We're both based in Austin, so you have some representation from the team here. And I, like many other speakers here at this event, are here to talk to you about agents. But I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach here to put your attention a little less on the agent itself, but on the type of platform and the type of tools that you're probably going to need to build a really effective, highly accurate agent. But before I dive in, I really want to get a read on who I'm talking to in the room here. So bring a little bit of, maybe a little bit more energy, just a little bit. And don't get too excited, but I do have some light swag here to, give to enthusiastic participants. So, who here is familiar with Elasticsearch? Hands? Amazing, that's a great number of hands. Well, for the rest of you who didn't raise your hands, not to brag, but we are a leader in cognitive search platforms. And also, we are a trusted technology and platform that's full of great capabilities. In particular, great search capabilities that are foundational to building great and really great agents. So another quick pop quiz then. Which of these facts are true? Just shout it out, and it's okay. You can be really candid. And any takers here? I do have that swag option. The echoing silence is beautiful. I'm sorry, say that again?
Open source.
We're open source, absolutely. That's a great option. I'm glad that none of you took the option to shout that we're obsolete because, spoiler, that's not the right answer. And in fact, we're an open source vector database, and we're also a great one that can be downloaded and deployed anywhere. Not only that, we can store a bunch of other stuff, logs, metadata, searchable content, you name it, we can store it. I've had some folks come up to the booth, which we have downstairs, and say, man, I used Elasticsearch 7, and the only thing I know that you do is store logs. Well, the newsflash is we do a lot more, and we have a lot of innovation coming into our core vector database capabilities. So great, now we're on the same page. We all know what Elasticsearch is. We know it's not obsolete, which is a relief to us all here, especially those that are employed by Elastic. Let's get into what this means for your retrieval patterns in your MCP and your agent applications. I don't think I have to really tell this to anyone here, but I'll just say it out loud. I think we all know that there's a huge opportunity to be captured by building really great agents. But it's also true that we're all here at this event today to learn from other experts at this conference, because we're all on this journey, this process to just really try and build great agents to capture that value. And building agents with enterprise data is just hard. You have data silos. There's a numerous amount of challenges that I'm sure you're all very familiar with as attendees here at this conference. We know that AI works really well. It works best when it has a large amount of the right context. So tuning your context is how you're going to be able to achieve really high value enterprise search use cases, enterprise search, but also other use cases as well with your agents. And you could absolutely be choosing to throw an MCP server out there with your LLM. And for these lower complexity use cases, it's going to be awesome. You're going to do a little RAG, you're going to feel like a superhero, like the world is at your feet. And then as you start tuning that context, you might start to add maybe a little bit more semantic meaning, maybe a little bit more metadata that tells you a little bit more of your context to instruct your LLM how to do more with the data that you're bringing into your agents. This is going to give you even more benefit. You might also start trying out the bajillion new MCP servers that are coming out pretty much every day from every vendor for every data source known to man. But I hate to break it to you, that's not going to make like a huge leap in your quality of your agents. And in the meantime, your architectural complexity is also increasing because you're going to have to spin up new hardware to host these new elements. The list of challenges that you're going to want to consider as you scale out these implementations will start to increase. And you're also going to feel like your agents aren't quite great yet. So, hoping that as you add more stuff is not the strategy to win your way out of that plateau. So what's the play? I'm glad you asked, because our belief here is that at Elastic, and hopefully with your experience as well, is that there's an enormous amount of benefit in understanding how great search and retrieval can really help you tune your context. Great search is going to correctly match that user intent from that initial query with the right content. It's going to be trusted and a validated source to be able to ground your agents and LLMs accurately. The best lever for your agents is to utilize the benefits of your MCP server as an integration layer. But in addition, start to think about templatizing a really rich set of search-based tools to pull in the right context, maybe mix in some deterministic workflows that are necessary for your organization and the types of actions that you want to take. And that will help to increase the level, get your agents to great, and start to govern your agents' actions. The research already shows for a long time now, for those of you who've been here when ChatGPT hit the scene and you started thinking about RAG and you started reading these papers. But at the core, the basics of that is that hybrid search has a ton of benefits to give you the ability to retain the precision of keyword search against data that might have very specific things like VIN numbers or product IDs or CVEs. You also still want to handle the ambiguity and the semantic meaning in typical idioms or colloquialisms. I doubt that many people are going to modify their natural speaking tone just because they're conversing in agents. So you want a system that can handle that ambiguity. And the best way to do that is to combine that all with hybrid search as a tool for your MCP servers to use and instruct your LLMs within your agents. Hybrid search should just be paired with your RAG implementation to deliver better results. In essence, your great agents should give you the best of both, where you're taking a system, a platform, where you have something that can have your searchable content, your metadata that has that semantic meaning that you started adding in, integrating these new MCP servers as new sources of data, but then still applying a hybrid search and a RAG methodology on top of that to then add that as a set of your essential tools for agents. With Elasticsearch, RAG is really easy. And if you want to do that with hybrid search, or if you want to throw in some cross-encoder re-rankers, or maybe some really great re-ranking services from other platforms, that's really easy because for us, it is as simple as a piped query language. What you're seeing here is just a little bit of pseudocode that illustrates kind of the concepts and phases that you might care about as a tool within your MCP server for your agents. So this gives you several phases here. At the top here in blue, you'll see that this is your initial result retrieval, where you're going to take all of that context that you put into something like Elasticsearch. You're starting to do that top line, which is semantic context, and that's going to give you that handling of that ambiguity. You might be pairing this with a really nice semantic search model. That could be dense vectors, that could be sparse vectors as well. And then you could also put that with your keyword search. That's that bottom at the bottom part of the blue. And then that RRF is just normalizing the scores to then say you have two distinct types of searches. Let's normalize that into a really nice sorted set of results that are unified in the score approach. And then you can then throw a re-rank to then maybe toss in a high accuracy re-ranker. And also maybe limit that to say, I only care about the top 6, that's that peak line there. And then maybe throw that into an LLM to do a little bit of summarization, and you could store that as a new semantically relevant piece of information that you can then also use to enhance. But this is just a piped query statement, and the backbone of that for us at Elastic is ESQL. So with that simplicity, It's all just a piped query language. All of that stuff is going behind the scenes, behind those commands there. You can take that simplicity one step further by using that same piped query as the basis for your agent builder capabilities that are, spoiler alert, also in Elasticsearch. We have been shipping some really great capabilities called Elastic AI Agent Builder that is comprised of out-of-the-box tools that are going to be search-based. It's going to be accessible with an included fully managed MCP server, and we also provide an out-of-the-box agent and chat experience with the ability to customize your own agent and actions. Agent Builder is going to take away all of that complexity of developing context-driven agents by extending these core capabilities we've been talking about. But this is just our implementation of the ideas that you can take forward from this session, and you can implement that into any MCP server that you're building today, maybe any agents that you are, as long as you have a solid data store and an understanding of what hybrid search can do for you, you can pull that in as a tool to elevate your agents and take them from good to great. I'll give you a really quick glance at how easy this is, and then but if you're looking for inspiration, because maybe you're part of the people who didn't raise their hands and said, oh, I know what Elasticsearch is, or I have an implementation, that is okay. You just probably want some education there, and that's where we provide this nice website. It's called Search Labs. QR code's right there. It gives you some reference applications, and also, more interestingly, you'll probably get some really nice articles here to explain kind of the same breakdown, hybrid search, how does that apply, how do I might think about like doing queries in a different way, and we'll also have access to Jupyter notebooks. So you could just connect that and start running through those steps. It'll take you through just taking a financial data set, running through and instrumenting your first ESQL query, and you'll be able to follow along with what I'm about to show you. With that, I'm going to do a little bit of mirroring here, so wish me luck, because I tried this earlier with the folks here, and it's going to be a little bit awkward for a second, but then hopefully we'll be back. Awesome. Okay, so this is an Elasticsearch instance. And so what you'll see here is I have a nice set of data. This comes from that Jupyter notebook I just showed you on that website. So, if you ran the same steps in that Jupyter notebook, you would get a similar set of indices. It just kind of shows you a disparate set of data sets that you can potentially try to build out a financial agent that could try and take a look at ambiguous AI outlooks with stock. That's the kind of thing that you can try out there. But for today, it's going to feel a little more granular because I want to just get back to these basics so you can take the concepts into how you can do queries as tools for yourself. So I have this nice little VI screen here. We're not going to use it, but it's just going to make us feel like we're all in dark mode. We're looking at code together. It's going to be very cozy for a second here. So this is basically a couple of things that we're going to run through to just show you the difference when you kind of go from, I have something that I hope is just querying the right thing. I have this MCP server. It's not particularly tuned for search. But then we're going to iterate and do a little bit of tuning together in the next few minutes. So, okay, what you see here is just those indices. I have copied those same queries that I have over in my little terminal over there, my VI editor. And I'm just going to grab this question here. Like I told you before, Agent Builder already has an MCP server. It's already locked into the Elasticsearch platform, so that's already here. You also have a set of default tools. These are all search-based. You'll see ESQL is sprinkled out. It does some really nice things like take your natural language and pre-generate, and then you can also customize this, but ESQL is kind of the thing that we should take from that pseudocode into this. And then it will also do some exploration of your stored data here. And these are the default sets here, and we're expanding the tools rapidly. And also I went ahead and created kind of the basic just starter kit here, ESQL. I'm about to customize it. You'll see this in a second where this will apply. But so you have a good set of a visual, shall we say, of the catalog of tools at play here. And then you also have a default agent, like I said here, plus the one that came from the Jupyter notebook that I pointed out. And then one here that we're about to engage with. But if I were to take just the base agent, it's an MCP server, it's maybe using a little bit of the indices there, what might that look like if I wanted to chat with this and ask something like, what's an agent? First off, it's just going to be going straight to the LLM, so nothing magical has happened because those financial documents, let me just tell you right now, has no insight about agents. So this should probably fail. But if I start building up and saying, well, let's start putting in some context. I'm going to put in something that takes the definition of an agent. LLMs autonomously using tools and loops. This is going to be coming from the Anthropic page that talks about effective context engineering for AI agents. If I do that, I'm creating an index. I put a little bit of information in there. I can then start adding some questions to my agent builder to say, cool, what indices are available? What you'll start to see is kind of probably what you're seeing in your own agents. You'll see that it's starting to take a little bit of a look and it's saying, oh, there's those financial things, but something new is there. You've got this topics thing that now defines what an agent is. And it can give you a little bit of information on that. And then I'd like to maybe understand, well, let me find a little bit more information mentioning an LLM. But y'all saw what I put in there. It's really just a strict definition. And so what it's missing is kind of a little bit more tuning to be able to say, hey, I want to be able to use my search and customize that and maybe start looking at different types of data. So you can see here it's looking at the search strategy, it's looking at these core tools, it's finding the best target, it's trying to look in financial news. It's going to be wasting its time because the answer is not there. And so it's going to, again, tell me, hey, I couldn't figure out which indexes. Maybe you need to do a little tuning on your search here and give me a few more tools. So let's go back and actually start then thinking about this custom tool scenario that I have posited for you today. And so I will kind of enhance my topics a little bit just to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to add a new mapping here. And then I'm going to add that same definition, LLMs autonomously using tools in a loop. And I'm also going to put in an MCP topic as well, just for fun. So now I have 2 documents in my index. And then I'm going to try and see what it's going to do with that. Because now it theoretically has access to an index that has some relation to the topic that I'm asking them about. Let's see what it can find. I expect that I still haven't tuned my ESQL query. I haven't put that in as a custom tool, but it's starting to get a little bit smarter, which is probably where you're trying to figure out I keep doing this semantically interesting metadata, added in more context. It's getting better, right? Everything's awesome. And so when I start doing that and start looking at the different phases, it's again going to go look through my search. It's going to look through all the indices. And it's going to go through all of the different things. But when this finishes its journey of looking through all the indices, it will find that MCP document. But was that really the right exact document that I wanted my agent to find? Not quite. So we'll let this run through, and you can see that it's still doing its thing. It's generating an ESQL query because that was one of the default tools. It's trying to do a little bit more intelligence behind the scenes to generate a better tuned query for itself. But it still kind of needs a little bit of help. So I won't belabor this too much longer, but we will collapse this so you can see less of this and more of the answer. And see, there you go. It found that MCP document that I put into the index. So now I'm ready to start thinking about the tool. So I told you that I had prepped a custom tool here. Going back to that pseudocode that I showed you, it's saying, hey, from that topics index, match a specific term specifically and limit that to 1. This is really just doing keyword search. We're not even at the hybrid search stage. We're just doing keyword search. We're trying to narrow the focus a little bit. And when that happens, then I can attach that to my agent. I've already saved that, so what I'm gonna do is jump over. This is that endpoint to that MCP server that I've been talking through here on the call here. I did have that MLOps agent here. And what I can do here is I can toggle on the tools to then start using this custom ESQL tool. So I'm going to start chatting with this and start asking a very similar question, which is, find a document on AI models. And then it's going to start using that new custom tool, and it will start doing those same phases, generating ESQL, but the context will be narrower, and it will be looking for a specific document, and it will then ground that with a different answer. While this is happening, you just let me know if y'all are following along with like a thumbs up. If y'all are still interested. Okay, good. I'm glad. Thank you, sir. I will remember you for one of these nice little swag piles. And so, all right, so we are seeing that it's now starting to call that custom tool, and it's doing that match, and it's saying, well, do I have AI models and financial news? And it's starting to find some keyword terms there, and it's also doing that in every index, and now it's starting to narrow the search. So you can already start to see that behind the scenes, the agent is getting more and more rich context. It's starting to look for specific documents that match the inquiry. You can refine this a little bit further. So if, say, you're sitting on Elasticsearch or some search system that has like a ton of synonyms or query rules or really, really esoteric terms that are unique to your business, then this is where like something like just adding a keyword search into your agent and your MCP tools is just going to help, because then you'll be able to narrow in on the documents that have that specific esoteric term. It will then feed in as context into your agent. Now, but I think it's going to be a little bit more interesting. And so you can see here, it found some interesting financial data here, which is interesting around AI models. That's great. I really didn't want it to go and specifically answer that. But if I ask that first question again, like what's an AI agent, which failed, then it will do the same thing and go into the topic. So you can start to see that it's becoming smarter behind the scenes. Now, while this is running, because I think that we all have seen the point here, we'll move a little bit further and start switching this into semantic search to get those semantic meanings, those idioms, the colloquialisms that's not tied to those esoteric terms for your business. And so this is where we're doing a little bit of work behind the scenes to start building out a little bit more semantic meaning. So this here is as simple as, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, first off, explain how we do inference. You could be managing your model on your own, maybe LM Studio, the tool of your choice, or maybe you're using a service like Vertex. Irrelevant, basically the same pattern is still true in what I'm about to show you. What we happen to do here in the Elasticsearch implementation that we have is that we do have some default models, and actually some really cool news happened this morning, guys. Elastic did acquire GenAI, so GenAI is part of our model family going forward. Yay, very exciting. So, like, if you take our default proprietary models, or if you're interested in GenAI, then you could expect that the defaults, that when I take a look at my inference endpoints, which is how I take everything from everywhere, every inference provider, and I kind of put that into this experience, then you're gonna have a reasonable default, or you can bring your own. And when I then kind of add in this new index here, topics, semantic, it's gonna add like a new semantic text. It's just a data type, it's doing some automatic chunking behind the scenes. This is all stuff you could be doing in LangChain or the tool, ETL tool of your choice. But then when you do that, and you expand that, do a little bit of a reindex, Then I can expand out my query to then do that pseudocode that I showed you for semantic search. And then I could be matching that against that semantic meaning. And I'm going to plop that in and replace my tool to then change the query a little bit. And then I'll go back into my agent. Oops. Keep editing. All right. Let me leave the page here. Go back to my AI agent. And then grab my scratch pad. And then I'm going to search for worker this time, which is probably a pretty good analog to agent. But we saw the documents in here, and we should expect that the documents really only say the words MCP and agent using a bunch of tools. And so now, when I ask the LLM for worker and it goes through those phases, then what it's going to do is, again, go through all the indices, maybe pre-generate some ESQL, and then also start looking for a tool, which is hopefully that custom ESQL tool that will then do that semantic search, and then it will say, oh, there's this topics index, and it has AI agent, it has topics about my MCP server, and that's similar because I'm now searching in vector space with my sparse vector model. I'm starting to get that similarity, and then I'm going to bring that back as context for my agent. So this is the basis of how you start to iteratively start to build up your tuning for search. And then you can build up your ESQL to start normalizing that for hybrid search. You then start adding and clicking in more tools. But the basis is it's search, and your agent starts getting better and better in terms of answer quality because it's just got a richer set of content. You can also then start pulling in like analytics and other sources of data because, like I said, we store everything. So what we're seeing is some really interesting evaluation feedback loops that are then feeding into self-learning systems for agents. And that just becomes a much better way to elevate your agents to greater quality than starting to add in more MCP servers and starting to then build out more field types that try and tell the LLM what to do. You've now templatized it in a query language. I want to make sure, because I see we're at the last few minutes, I at least wanted to give an opportunity for maybe one question here. So I don't know if there's a mic runner here, but if there's anyone who wants to ask something, I'd love to hear a question and maybe give out a sock or two. Yes, sir. Graph, yes, that's a great question. So also along the side of, when people were thinking about RAG, they were also thinking about graph RAG as well, to then capture that organizational context to say, oh, Amit and I, we both work at the same company, and so maybe we're all working on AI, and that could be context that is really important for your agents. So absolutely, the same system actually absolutely applies. We see a lot of people starting to mix and match, maybe storing their relationships and doing some really nested parent join concepts in their stored data. And they can do that retrieval with ESQL because we have something like a lookup join, which then takes that and says, oh, Amit is here. And then you just kind of plug that in as a tool and put that in with your hybrid search, and you're ready to go. But thank you for the question. That was great. Oh, so the question for the folks in the room who can't hear him, he's asking where's the graph hosted? And so in this case, I didn't show you kind of the inner details here, but behind the scenes, every document is a very flexible document model where every data type, it could be showing or hosting relationships. You could also have different field types for vectors. And so the graph relationships just all live within. And then we intuit through a variety of queries how those relationships are intertwined, and then we pull that context into the agent. Does that help? Awesome, thank you so much. I think there's a gentleman back there that needs socks. You absolutely need socks, and there's a lady here who was earlier that I hope would like to come up and get some swag. So please, if I've forgotten someone, please come hang out, and I'll give you some socks. Thank you very much.